So what is wisdom? Can we just get a clear understanding of the difference between wisdom and knowledge? Does anyone know? We use these two words quite often, knowledge and wisdom. So what is knowledge and what is wisdom?
Knowledge is stuff. Wisdom is how you apply it.
What? Wisdom is hydropower?
Is how you apply it.
That's where you're going wrong with the whole hydro thing. So wisdom is hydropower and knowledge is stuff. So knowledge is stuff and wisdom is how you apply it, is what Rek is saying. Anything else you can add to that? Shanila, what's the difference between knowledge and wisdom?
Knowledge is knowing things, but wisdom is actually knowing and acting, living that.
So if you
know everything and not do anything about it, it's not going to get you anywhere.
So are you saying that wisdom is the doing of knowledge?
Not necessarily the doing of knowledge, but the living and sort of, applying of that knowledge. Because everything's fine in theory unless you actually...
And where do you get knowledge from? Books.
From people, from books, from life, from experiences.
Life and books? Your life?
Experiences, yeah.
So how can someone have written a book on your life? This is going to lead you to what wisdom is. How can someone have written a book on your life already? They can't, can they? So what's wisdom and knowledge? The difference now, tell me?
Living your life through what
Yeah, wisdom and learning.
Living your life through what you learn. Sunil's getting something towards it. The book, something to do with living and learning from experience. Knowledge, but it's different to knowledge. Come on, tell me.
Wisdom is learning through your experiences, and
Maturity.
knowledge is knowing stuff.
Knowing stuff. Whose stuff? Other people's
Other.
stuff. And wisdom is learning what stuff?
Your own stuff.
So is knowledge the result of someone else's experiences?
Does
Yeah.
knowledge come from books and the wisdom come from yourself?
Yeah, it's coming more towards it. So knowledge will come from books,
Outside.
something that you've learned from a book, or something you've learned growing up, or something
Outside
you've
sources.
learned from an outside source, let's say. Right? Wisdom is not something that you can learn. You can hear other people's wisdom and tally it with yours. Yours can be the same, but it's not something that you can learn from outside. It's something that has to be,
Within.
has to come from within you.
Understanding.
Understanding?
Intuition?
Intuition. So what's the word intuition broken down as? Intuitor. The internal tutor. Okay, and knowledge is normally the external. So what I give to you is not wisdom. It's my wisdom, it's not your wisdom. Until you apply it and you live it and you feel it, it's not your wisdom, it's your knowledge. It's my wisdom, your knowledge. Okay? Until you understand how I've got to that point of making a decision to say, guys, this is what's right, or this is what the path is, that's your knowledge for you to think about. It's what I feel. So you might try and practice what I say, and then suddenly one day it goes, you know what, that is right. That is right. Now that's part of me. Then it becomes your wisdom. So I can trigger it, but until it becomes part of you, it's not something that is real wisdom. It's just knowledge. You're just doing what you're told. Wisdom is described as positive discrimination. It's the ability to look at a situation and decide what is the positive from that situation, what the right action to do, what the right thing to do. It's the ability to decipher what is right and wrong in a situation. We're the only creatures on this planet that have wisdom. Every other planet works, every other creature works on instinct, and they work on behavior, on patterns. They can't be responsible for what they do because they don't have the ability to know if it's right or wrong. That's why you can't look at an animal or a dog or a tiger or something and say, you know, you shouldn't do this. Because they don't know, they're not thinking in their head, I know I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm going to do it. They have very, very little, what we call in yoga, buddhi. Positive discrimination. This is the ability to stand back from yourself and go, right, now let's have a look at how I'm behaving. You don't see dogs doing that. You don't see tigers doing that. You don't see animals looking back and saying, Mr. Snake, myself, here I am. In the snake world, should I really have eaten that rat? Was it really caused? Was I really hungry? And look at me. You know, animals don't have that ability to positively discriminate their actions. Human beings do. Human beings can step back, and that's why we are responsible for ourselves, because we know what's right and wrong. We can understand right and wrong differently. So wisdom is positive discrimination, self-knowledge, intuition, knowing from within the right direction. Knowledge is what you learn from the outside. That may not be applicable to you. So what yoga teaches you is to learn to listen to yourself. It's learning to listen to the inner voice. It's learning to listen to the voice of your conscience, the voice of your wisdom, the voice of your gut, your intuition, your wiser instincts. That's what wisdom is. Developing wisdom, going for walks, meditating, listening to that quiet voice in stillness. That is getting to know what's wise. You know, you had an argument with somebody. Shout and scream, you do what you need to do, or you press, push. It's all the toing and froing, and your ego's getting involved, everything's happening. And then you walk out the door, and then you have a walk, and you sit down in the park, and a couple of hours later, you have a little bit of a cup of tea or something, have another walk, and all these thoughts start to come to you. You know what? I should have probably done this. And maybe they were right, a little bit. And all the wisdom starts to come. You think, and I should have probably reacted like this. There's a whole other part of yourself that's wiser. But when emotion and what you believe and conditions get in the way, you fight for the wrong things. You fight for your ego. Wisdom comes after. But when you train to be a calmer, more settled person, what you hear is not the ego first, you hear wisdom first. And you apply wisdom quickly. But nobody can teach you that because it's your own voice. It's your intuition, it's your intuition. So now, for an adult, this is a reading here I'll talk to you about, wisdom and responsibility. Okay, personal development. For an adult in whom wisdom is strong, that person will always hold themselves responsible for everything they have felt in their life, as we said earlier. For everything they have felt in the past and for everything they're feeling now. And most importantly, they will mould in their hands everything that they will feel in the future. In one whose wisdom is weak, on the other side, that one holds others responsible for everything they have felt in their life. Except that which is good. For that, they will vociferously take credit for bringing that to themselves. They strain and squirm to show gratitude to others and refuse to accept the existence of any higher powers. Everything bad that they have felt has its source away from them. Everything bad they're feeling, they're merely the victim of. And everything bad that they will ever feel will always have its source outside of themselves. Words like fault, blame, and hate fall from their lips faster than phrases like, it's my responsibility, thank you, and I love you. This person will never be happy. And they have no chance of creating their unhappiness. You cannot truly love someone and hold them responsible for your pain at the same time. You cannot truly love someone and hold them responsible for your pain at the same time. You are responsible for everything you feel. Clear your heart, clear your mind, and you create your feelings. So we're coming back to that theme, wisdom and responsibility. The question is, I have for you, are you ready to be totally responsible for everything that you feel? Is that something that you want to go through? Is there something that you're still blaming on the outside? Give me an example of the type of things that we end up sitting with before we leave this topic completely for the day. What kind of things do we look at on the outside? And I want you to make sure you don't get into that pattern again. What else? What are we holding responsible for us on the outside?
Getting bad advice from someone, blaming them.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Getting bad advice from someone. So the onus is, we put it on them, right? But where's the real power? It was us, isn't it?
You chose to take it.
Chose to take it. What else?
Blaming parents for where we are today.
Ah, that's a classic, right? Blaming parents for where we are today. When we have to understand, in terms of yoga, in terms of the scheme of life, that they might look 20, 30 years older than you, but in terms of their souls, which are living for so long, they're the same age as you. They don't know any more than you. But as a child, you think of your parents as gods. You obviously, as babies and children, you look, they're massive, they're 6 times the size of you. And you just look at them as knowing everything, so you believe everything they say, which is fine up until the age of 18. Because after the age of 18, that kind of thinking becomes very, very bad news for a human being, because they start to become irresponsible. Up until 18, they can say, okay, you've given me everything, and I've lived the life you've shown me. But after 18, it's your mind now. Now it's your, that's what I've always been taught. After 18, that's a cut-off point where you can say it's your fault. Because then it's your life. You make decisions to follow that, change your thinking. But you'll find many adults still today, after 18, they're still looking back at their parents at 25, 26, 30, 35, 40, and still blaming, saying, it's because of what I learned with you, mate, that I'm in jail, or I'm doing this, yeah? It's you. I copied you. So there you go. Now, think about that for a second. How much wisdom and responsibility is being applied? Nothing. Because your wisdom should be able to go, well, if they aren't that good, then why am I following them? Now I'm 18, I've got a brain of my own. Why can't I just change what patterns I'm doing, and why can't I be responsible for myself? So after the age of 18, children need to start to be given more responsibility and say, well, what is the best way to teach someone is to make them realise themselves, isn't it? That's what I do as a teacher. My job is not to give you a list of things and say, this is what you do, don't ask about it. It's to say, do you understand why this is a good idea? And then go and try it yourself, and then becomes your wisdom, your knowledge. Does that make sense? What wisdom is? Do you understand now what you've got to do for wisdom? You only hear the voice of wisdom when the voice of your mouth is quiet, when the voice of the TV is quiet, and the voice of the radio, music, everything is off. Then you start to hear your conscience. They say the soul speaks in whisper. You don't hear the soul's voice until you still yourself down, until you're quiet. You can't hear your soul talking. Remember I was saying earlier about how media is these days so busy? Because they don't want you to hear your inner voice, your peace within. Because then you're going to be happy with something else. So you've got to sit every day quiet and listen to your voice. And that's the problem, Nina, with a lot of people, is they don't shut up. Not here, not their friends, not the television. Everything is constant words. And most people talk crap, right? And most of the television, most things, it's entertainment. There's nothing really coming at you of any use. It's all pretty much nonsense, right? And then you get addicted to soap operas and those things, which are more nonsense and involved in their life, and you're living your life in someone else's life, which I just don't understand that. You're busy enough with your life, you're going to watch another life which is a complete mess. You're supposed to come away with something. What are you going to come away with? You're living your life going, I was lucky it was in the soap. You're like, I went in the soap. What are you talking about? It's real. Yeah, but, yeah. You know, so you're not taking the time to be still and start to nurture that internal voice that's speaking within. What is that voice? That voice is the voice of your soul. We say very simply at Chi Creek that the God and the soul and the spirit, they're all working together as one united voice. Simple, simple. So the God is within you. Call it your soul, call it your wisdom, call it your intuition. Whatever you call it, you need to hear it. But you only hear it in silence. And why do we listen to music and TV and radio and soaps all day? Because we don't want to hear the truth. We don't want to hear what's true. We don't want to hear what we're supposed to be really doing. We don't want to hear the voice that's going to make us feel responsible. Because it's too much hard work. It means we've got to change. Change is hard, uncomfortable, it hurts. So we keep ourselves busy because there's too much truth inside. And if I'm quiet, I'm going to hear the truth. If I'm quiet, I'll hear the truth. That's a problem for people. But you lot, not such a problem. Because you come in and some of you can sit in quiet rooms for a day. You're used to hearing what the truth is, what your truth is. That's good. The more you go into that, the more you understand about you and the powers that you have inside you. Have you ever experienced where silence is noise? Have you been in a point in your life where you feel like being alone is difficult? You feel like you need to be busy or out with people, or right? That's that thing, because you're running away from a feeling inside that you don't want to hear. It's very human. It's very normal. Most people do on a Friday, Saturday night at the pub. or the clubs, or they'll get drunk so much that they don't know who they are anymore. But that's good because it blocks them all out. But is it good? Once in a while, there's nothing wrong with doing that. But if you start to get into habits because you're blocking out pain, and you've got to deal with that at some point, so you've got to be still, front up, listen, decipher what's right and wrong, get your actions together, and then you start to make evolution and developments in your life. So that's wisdom and responsibility. That's how they play together. The need is for silence. So 15 minutes a day is all I'm saying to you. 15 minutes of meditation a day. Start to get used to that voice. Any questions on that?
Neil, how does intuition play? Because from what I see is like young children, a baby has natural intuition. They're born, for example, they know when something's wrong. Like when, they know that their mother's worried or whatever, but their mum will say, no, everything's okay, even though there's something wrong, just to comfort the child. Does that play a part? If the mum keeps on repeating that, then we naturally lose our intuition because we're always...
Yeah, because you're starting to look at your elder, and because they're your model at that time, and you may sometimes ignore your own intuition for the guidance of one in which you've placed all your faith in knowing more and being taller and bigger and walking and working and providing the house. They're like gods, right? Your parents as your child, as a baby. So yes, that will eventually start to... But that's why I say after 18, when you've grown up a bit and you've seen a bit more of the world, you can say, hold on a second, these are a bunch of patterns that I've grown up with. Why don't I stop following how mum behaves? And mum likes nice handbags, so I've grown up always wanting handbags, and dad likes cars and fast this and that, so that's why I like it. You've got to stop and look at yourself and go, what am I? Who am I? What do I like? And so you've got that whole pressure, opposition against you being yourself. Because then you've got to go against the grain a little bit and start being yourself, and that's difficult. People don't like you being yourself. Sometimes. But that's what personal development is. It's developing your personality. It's developing you as a person, who you are as an independent being. Right? And that fight and that battle, overcoming them and you, is where this development comes in.